Welcome to FATED ARPG Podcast, episode number 126. We're back, guys, and, well, this time only a short wait since the last episode, but seeing that we got a busy weekend ahead of us, you're gonna have to make this one last, because we're not gonna be there in the weekend, and the next episode is still to be announced. But today we're gonna delve into a lot of fun discussions with friends that we've seen before. We got a new phase coming on, and we got tons of stuff to talk about because Balor is actually restarted in softcore trade. And before we dive into that, guys, likes, follows, subscribes, shares, everything is hugely helpful. We need the channel to grow. Everything needs to be better this year than it was last year. You know the drill. The people who purchase paid subscriptions will be mentioned on the end screen. And without further ado, we're going to dive into the episode. Welcome, Balor. How are you doing?
Well, hello. I'm doing all right. I'm happy to be back in Trade League.
Yeah. Is
I
everything
did
going
enjoy the
your
Private
way?
League quite a lot. I will do it again, but still, Trade is my home.
Sounds good. And then we welcome Aphelion, who has been with us on the first episode of the new league right after the launch weekend and is here to tell us all about the developments on his end. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Good to be here again.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a league. I've been having a ton of fun, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, same. And we got an Aphelion adjacent face that we'd like to have on the podcast already for so many times, and finally it worked out. Welcome with us, Batix Chibi. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Cheers for having us here. Appreciate it. It's going well. Like Aphelion said, my bald brother from another mother. It's a great out league so far, so having a blast and looking forward to chatting it out with you guys and discussing it.
Yeah. I think Balor also brought a guest for the podcast here.
This is Biscuit. He's adorable. Spelled like Limp Biscuit.
Yes, man of culture.
Nice.
Is Abby going to join us at any point? Aphilion's got a dog to rock. I've only got.
She's booted out of my feet right now. I could pick her up if you want. Here.
The FATED ARPG Dogcast.
1 sec.
Oh, he's going to.
A little bigger than Biscuit.
My cat has taken the time to run away rapidly.
He's huge.
Oh, Abby. She's so cute. She was totally not looking forward to this. She's like, put me down, bro.
Yeah.
I ain't going to talk about PoE. I ain't going to talk about PoE.
Yeah.
A little heavier.
So what I'm curious about is, of course, how are you guys playing the game, this league? Aphelion, you're still on your SSF path that you set out for yourself in the beginning. How has that been treating you?
It's been fantastic. So I've always enjoyed.
No fear of missing out for like some trade opportunities.
Never. I think I ranted about this last time I was here on this podcast, and my opinion hasn't changed. And it hasn't changed in the past year and a half or 2 years or whatever since I've started playing SSF, and I don't think it's ever going to. I just truly enjoy the solo self-found playstyle way more than trade. I feel like it's way more rewarding for me. I love the small wins that I get from picking up something that was hard to get, as opposed to just going and securing it on trade, and just sort of it gels really well with the way my brain just naturally works. I like working on big projects with that I like to break down into smaller goals and figure out how to attack each one. So, like, I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm trying to craft a sadist garb with 450 ES on it and a couple of other specific mods, and I'm having to spam delve for that to do the prefixes, and then the suffixes will be done with Jun, and then I'll finish a craft and then work on the implicits, right? Like I like to say, like, that's just one piece of the build that I'm trying to put together, and that's the kind of stuff I really enjoy, and it keeps me logging back in. So I'm really enjoying SSF. It's been a great league for it. You pretty much get spoon-fed whatever you want just through the power of wisps, which I'm sure everybody has opinions about. And it's the dopamine hits just come left and right, man. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, no, I'm asking because I know that Bantix does start in a community self-found league, and I know that you also are part of that sometimes. So I was like, well, is that something?
I'd say. I mean, he messages me on Discord usually between a week and 4 days before league starts and says, usually the word chief is involved. He likes to go, hey, chief, just letting you know, like, want to join the private league, the door's open. And, I always say, yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. And, then usually we'll, talk shit to each other for a few minutes and then pretend we don't exist. So
then it'll be like, hey, fucker, just join the league, please. I need you. And then I don't get a response for about 2.5
I usually leave
days.
them on red at that point. So,
so, it's fairly standard.
The thing about this league is like the same thing that makes everybody like, oh, it's the best league to do MF, or oh, it's the best league to be in trade league, or anything like that. That also makes it the best league to be in solo self-found, the exact same thing, or in a small private league, the exact same thing. Like that that same thing is just great everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if it's a bigger private league as well, it's allowing so many people to just go after what they enjoy, and assuming you can survive the wisps being added to your maps, you're rewarded for it, so it's an absolute blast. And to do all that in solo self-found as well, I respect you for it, Aphelion. I don't envy you, but I respect you for it.
I don't. I think you're weird.
Yeah, just
look, we play PoE, all right? We're all a little weird.
We're all a tiny bit weird. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, but within the PoE sphere, you're the weird one, not us.
Look, being weird is cool these days, all right? Being normal sucks.
Just
I feel that for all of you.
Yeah, he's got us there. Look, that's pretty much as close to a checkmate as he's going to get, at least from solo self-found.
Yeah, and if I could join your hideouts and tell you in person, I would.
Oh man, that would be so cool. Cross-league hideouts.
I actually kind of wish you could join other people's hideouts in SSF. Like, obviously that, you couldn't trade with them, or you couldn't party with them or whatever. But even just to if you had a guild full of SSF people, or if you had just friends on your friends list who have hideouts, you could just join them and, make fun of their MTX for a bit and then leave.
At least the guild hideout.
Yeah, actually,
the guild hideout. That would be cool.
The guild hideout would actually be a good shout. Because it's bad enough whenever you're playing on trade and one of your mates decides you forgot to lock your hideout from anyone just hopping on in, and they come in with 40 Celestial MTXs, and your frame rate goes from a solid 120 in hideout down to a nice cozy 2. So it's at least relegate it to the guild hideout.
Yeah, Bantix in particular has to be worried about these kinds of things.
What are you implying, sir?
I'll just throw that out there.
Okay, all right, yeah. The private league, sometimes it's the Detonate Dead. When Detonate Dead was really, really, really popular and just desecrates everywhere. It'd come out of a map, desecrate, back into the map, come out, more desecrates. So
can I just also throw out there that Balor, I'm really glad that you enjoyed your private league. That's awesome. But I have to say, you migrating to trade has had ripple effects throughout.
Wait, did you actually migrate, Balor?
I didn't even migrate.
Oh, he just started up.
No, I started fresh.
You started fresh. You moving your attention to trade league has had ripple effects throughout my experience of PoE, because I have people coming into my chat saying, "Oh, Balor migrated or played trade or whatever, and now I don't know what to do, and can you suggest a build?" And I'm like, where did all this come from?
You're lost children, Balor. You're lost.
They're wandering all throughout the desert, Balor.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with anything?
True. Like someone from my community. Someone from my community actually started BalorMage's private league like 2 weeks in or something like that, because they felt they were having so much fun. And then he was in shambles just a couple of days ago. He came to me and was like, Catmaster, Balor, and his crafter both stopped quitting the private league. Everything's going to fall apart now.
Yeah.
But everyone had plenty of warning that this was coming.
Yeah.
Like, it was only around for 5 weeks to begin with. And then I've been talking about it for like a week or two, about it getting like close to have to go. And I even stopped inviting new people who were like, hey, is it too late to join the private league? And I was like, technically no, but I've kind of just stopped inviting new people because I think we'll only be here another week or two at most, and it would feel bad to like come in and then leave.
So that was the cut. That was the cutoff. Like 1 week ago, the last poor sod that was like, you know what? I'm going to check out Balor's private league. I'm gonna hop in on that. And now he's like, well, I guess fuck me. Like he's gone. I'm leaderless.
They were just like nervously waiting on the sidelines, like waiting for their chance to be tagged in. Unsure if they should just step forward a little bit or maybe just like take it easy and maybe they'll be invited by Balor himself. But no.
Yeah. No. I'll farm essences for that entire week, and just maybe. Balor will ask, does anybody have some essences of zeal? And then, that's their moment to shine. That ain't going to happen. You're over in trade now.
Nope.
That was a bit intense, to be fair. We threw him onto the cross there.
I'll tell you what I didn't realize. I didn't realize that when I left within 12 hours, 2/3 of the private league had merged into trade. And I was like,
/FF. Yeah.
I was like, so many people.
You're the cornerstone, bro. You're literally holding up that gateway. The moment you dip out, the whole thing just crumbles inward.
Yeah, it's like an avalanche, though. Like when people see, other people are leaving, and they already thought, well, I'm not sure how long it's gonna stay fresh when Balor leaves, and then what are you gonna do?
Look,
it wasn't exactly like a William Wallace carry on the fight thing, was it? It was more of just everything just fell apart.
We've also got a few really, really big ticket items from the private league because the idea was everything gets handed around, everything is free, right?
Nice.
But keep a track of who specifically got the really big items, headhunters, the mage bloods, like that sort of stuff, because whenever they want or when it's over, the big expensive items should make their way back to... We've got several of those big expensive items just sitting in the private league guild stash.
Yeah.
Waiting to see the people who drop them again.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of divines worth of stuff. And they just haven't logged in several days. And he's like, okay, well, I've got a list of names, and if I ever see one again, you can have the thing back.
Otherwise, it's mine.
Well, I mean...
It's not even mine. I didn't merge to trade. I
think I'm going to start Balor's private league now.
It's potentially mine.
We're just locked in the private league waiting for their owners to show up and claim them.
You're making it sound like lost pets. When are we personifying headhunters and mage bloods now?
They have names.
Yeah, they have.
Name feeding of your mage blood.
Just put a little note on them. I was going to use Biscuit, but that's harsh. Biscuit left by BalorMage. Last seen 28th of December 2023. Just let that run on for weeks.
It's at the shelter waiting for adoption. Somebody can pick it up. Post pictures of it. Cute little puppy eyes pictures up at the camera, but it's a mage blood. Actually, so not to hijack your podcast here, Catmaster, but actually I feel like since we have Bantix and BalorMage here, who are two now private league aficionados, especially Bantix, who's been running his league for the better part of 2.5 years now, 3 years?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What do you guys think is one of the most challenging aspects of sort of being the focal figurehead of a private league, either from a gameplay standpoint or a social standpoint, or what barriers have you had to overcome?
Do you want to go first, Balor, or will I?
Nah, you should.
All right, I'll blaze a trail. I suppose, in my opinion, and from my experience, the trickiest aspect I find with the private leagues and the group found leagues, especially if it's several communities coming together that haven't necessarily interacted before, it's the personal dynamics, it's the social dynamics between people. Like Balor, for instance, mentioned that you keep a track of the big ticket items and who dropped it, and then kind of where it ends up going towards the end. Big ticket items, as an example, in discount leagues, is kind of a case of whoever drops it can decide what they want to do to it, whether they're going to use it, whether they want to lend it to someone, all with the kind of idea of being like, if somebody drops a big ticket item, do not hound them to give it to you. If you want to use a headhunter or you want to use a mage blood, you can ask them and see what they say, but that I find that is the trickiest aspect initially, is just kind of those interpersonal relationships where communities haven't cross-pollinated before. Like I really, Balor, in your case with your private league, I really liked how structured you had things. Like people, essentially it was kind of like World of Warcraft raid leading or guild leading. You had people signing up for particular aspects and stuff like that.
I was gonna say Valor's League is more like a BPL team.
Yeah. Whereas in Discount, it's much more organic. It's a case of like you can join. These are the trading rules. Don't be a dick. Treat it like solo self-found light for the first week. So, you know, think about your league starter. Don't be a complete two-head about it. Don't, you know, go in with something that requires crazy big items. And then when you work past that and get into week 2, then you're golden. Like people will trade items back and forth. Some people need essences, no problem. We'll throw in essences. Some people want scarabs, no problem. I'm not using them. I'll toss you it there. So it's very much kind of sussing out who you kind of enjoy playing with and kind of how it works. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. Personally, I like it as a go-between solo self-found and trade. You kind of lose the mentality of chaos and divines per hour. What is the most efficient way of getting that? And then not as restrictive as solo self-found, where you're trying sometimes for days or weeks on end to get a particular item or a particular thing crafted. So
if you're me, you spend 5 days hard farming to get a taste of hate, and then end the 5th day with 3 cards and decide I'm done with this. I don't want to be in solo self-found anymore. Bye.
Yeah. And at that point, you're just kind of praying, I hope my magic finders in the league, you know, drop 7 tastes of hate. And funnily enough, Affliction League has done exactly that. Yeah,
exactly that. Some guy traded me after a single day, literally came and traded me like 6 taste of hate flasks and was just like, here, these are to hand out. And I was like, you've been MFing for a day. What do you mean?
He's like, don't ask questions, just 3-1 these, bro. Just get better ones, you know?
And they were all given out instantly because you're like, who wants a taste of hate? And then this chat is just full of plus. Okay, lots of those.
Yeah.
I would say I need more organization next time.
Oh,
not less. It went really well. It was super fun. I very much enjoyed it, but a little bit more structure and a little bit more organization would have been better. Mm-hmm. Because there was a group of people, and I do think it's probably a minority, like definitely a smaller group of people, but there were a group of people who joined who didn't feel taken care of, who felt like they gave a lot and put stuff in the bank and never took anything out and never got anything back. And we discovered a few things. One crafter for 150 people. Not a great plan.
Yeah.
Our crafter did an amazing job, but you can't service 150 people as one person. You just can't do that. That's not possible. Probably need a few extra people helping out there. That's the start of it. And the second bit is we had a bit of the best way I heard this described was this was a squeaky wheel problem. If somebody was the kind of person who would ask for something once, they would probably just not get it because they'd ask and then 40 other people ask 40 different things in the next hour and they never go back to ask again. Yeah, it'll be 3 days down later and all you needed was 1 exalt and you still haven't gotten it. And okay, maybe you could have found one on the ground, but you didn't, and you just needed 1 exalt for this thing. And meanwhile, we've crafted like 45 different really good items and handed them out to people, used 70 exalts and 50 divines in the process, and no one's handed you the 1 divine. And so you feel like, or the 1 exalt or whatever it is, and you feel like, well, what's the point of even being here? I'm just solo self-found, but I'm handing over all my useful materials. So it's worse.
Yeah.
And so there was a small group of people that felt like that. And it's not their fault. It's just because they're not the loud people. Mm-hmm. Whereas the loud people, that's the squeaky wheel. You get the piece of gear because you were making noise. You spoke up over and over and over again. Yo, I need this thing. Yo, I need this thing. Yo, I need this thing. And eventually you see it and you're like, man, that's like the 8th time I've seen that. I really need to do that next. Yeah. I really need to get that person sorted. And so that, I think for most people, it went pretty well. But there was like a group of people that are generally more reserved and quieter. And those people felt bad and left pretty early. And I want a better structure to make sure I take care of them, because the idea is we've got quite a few blasters, we've got quite a few like very experienced people. They're going to have access of everything all the time. That's just how the game works when you play like that, right? And the idea is those people should be able to 100% carry the needs of the people who don't know what they're doing. We should be able to provide all the maps and all the crafting things and all the, like, we should be able to carry the newer people. And it shouldn't even be an issue at all. Shouldn't be even a stretch. And it isn't. But I need a better system to make sure that, like, everybody's getting taken care of.
Yeah, what you mean by that is, like, you want to make sure that your blasters, as you call them, like, they can take care of the newer people without it being a detriment to them, like, to their gameplay experience. So they're not, like, sacrificing too much. And, you know, maybe they get something in return every now and then.
Normally, like, your blaster teams or whatever, you've got, like, people who are like, hey, we're going to do a trio setup of Magic Find off the bat, me and my two friends. And you're like, fantastic. So you make sure that the best Magic Find and the best aura stuff that drops ends up in their hands, because for that, they're going to be off dropping lots and lots and lots of stuff. In the private league, lots of stuff they don't need. Your Magic Find trio doesn't need 60 Divine Orbs. You know who does? The Crafter. The Crafter needs 60 Divine Orbs. So if we make sure they get all the good MF gear right away, then we end up with more crafting materials, more bases, and more uniques, and more everything. So it's great. It was a very big change in mentality, though, from how do I make money to how do I make something useful? What do we need? Instead of just what's the most profit, which is weird for me, but...
Yeah, and that's the big motivation for me is the making things. Like, I think I figured out that I didn't really enjoy the rat race of caring particularly much about what the value, like the currency value of things was worth on trade. Like, when you drop something, it's a means to an end as opposed to the end itself. I'm not magic finding for the sake of magic finding. I'm magic finding, looking for something that I can use. When I have that thing I can use, make a build, that's the goal. And that's what I think private leagues and SSF really appeal to if you're that sort of person.
Yeah.
The biggest reason I'll never touch Found is because there are certain parts of the game that I just hate with a passion so much that I would just rather go play another game than have to do it. And that is any sort of lab farming and any sort of heist. I nearly quit my characters for the one time I have to go and do eat lab. I hate lab that much. Sometimes I'm in the mid-90s without Uber lab because my character's just powerful enough to not need it, and I just don't want to run it. I just don't want to run it. I don't like it. Don't enjoy lab. I don't want to go there. Now you have to go there for all of your gems. So I'm never doing self-found. And then I always want some high stuff, right? Like I'm going to want replicas. I'm going to want micro distillery belts or like something cool. And you couldn't pay me to go run heist. I don't want to do that. So I can't do solo self-found because I just won't. But private leagues was fun. And it was close, right?
The if you find a solution, Balor, do let me know. Because it's one of those things that when you have a spread of people with different kind of different experience levels, you kind of want the intermediate to experienced players to not necessarily teach the newer players, but at least be somewhat capable of guiding them a bit. So at least they can get a bit of a grasp on kind of how to approach the game, especially if they're not comfortable in this kind of environment where trade isn't there to just give them the things. While at the same time, the people that are doing that don't feel like it's just a constant suck of resources from them towards other people. You know, it's a very tricky kind of balance to strike, you know.
One of the first things I tried to make clear when we started ours was, which I don't think I made clear enough. I said it a whole bunch, but I need to figure out how to make it more obvious, was that the actual go-to should be always look after yourself first.
Yeah.
Don't be handing over your 120 fuses while you're in a 5-link when somebody in global asks for fuses.
Exactly.
Don't be handing over your pile of essences if you're about to start crafting something with it that you need.
Mm-hmm.
We want to collect all the excess, the stuff you're not going to use.
Yeah.
And use all of that. And we take everyone's excess, and everyone's excess will be a different thing. Some people aren't going to use the essences they've got. Some people aren't going to use the fossils they've got. Plenty of people aren't going to use the divines. They don't know how to do the crafting part of it. You know, give up all the things you don't need.
Yeah. And
take stuff that you do need. But don't give up the stuff you do need. Don't be handing over the things you want.
Because, like, much like yourself, Balor, I am not particularly a huge fan of heist. Sometimes it's okay depending on the build that I'm playing, but I would rather run other content other than heist. So a lot of the times, like when I'm getting blueprints, assuming I haven't blocked it on my Atlas post Wandering Path, like when I'm getting blueprints and contracts and coins, that's going to the heist juicers. Like, Merry Christmas, chaps. By the way, olden times, if you happen to find an alt quality gem, let me know. No biggie if not. I'm not particularly bothered about it. Or if you happen to find, you know, I suppose the rings are the prime one nowadays, you know, with the prefixes and the suffixes. But like that, it's ultimately you want to still be having fun. And I suppose running a private league, we're not going to be able to cater to everyone's version of fun. All we can do is, like you said, kind of try and pool things together to facilitate the content or the strats that some people want to try and run and try to have fun with, without it being at the expense of other players as well. It's like you said, it's a huge mentality shift, and it's kind of like, all right, that was, you know, the 2 months of the private league. What did we learn from it, if anything? Or if we've noticed that there are problems constantly reoccurring, what do we need to do to address it? You know, so it's curious to have that, especially because, at least in my own experience, PoE has been very much a solo play sort of game, right? Be it in trade, I'm kind of doing things by myself, be it a strat that I'm following, or in solo self-found, I'm trying to find stuff myself. So to go to a setting where it's very much group based, it requires that shift in mentality, you know? Welcome back, Catmaster.
Yeah, can you hear me fine now?
You sound delicious.
Oh yeah, I switch on the audio avatar while I'm fixing the microphone. Yeah, we seem to have had some weird audio issues, which I couldn't reproduce here, and like people are telling me all over that it's getting worse, and so I figured that it might just be my computer for some reason dragging it down, and it seems to have been my computer, and everyone says it's fine now. So I just hope that I'm able to salvage this podcast in post before I upload it. That's going to be the big.
Well, if you want, we can just redo the last 25 minutes. Like, that's not a problem.
No, we're never doing that. We're never doing that.
Word for private leagues that for that long. Come on.
Word for word, exactly.
Yeah, I actually remember it all word for word.
we could just go by the YouTube transcript.
Read off the script. Just read off the script.
Yeah, we almost made it to the cash grab section, you know. But we can start again. It's no problem, you know.
What do you mean? There's a specific cash grab? I thought all of it was cash grab.
Oh, Balor, he didn't know. Reverse, panic, abort.
roll back. No. Yeah.
But it's good now.
So have we decided what's a clear winner? Is it the communism sort of private league, or is it the private league where everyone is for themselves?
It's whatever you enjoy. Like, at the end of it, it sounds so wiffle-waffy of an answer, but it's a game. Like, Path of Exile is a game. Seriously, do what you find enjoyable and what's fun. If that's solo self-found trade or a private league that you've met, even if it's a bunch of mates, that if you and 3 other mates play in trade and you normally play together, trust me, try and do a private league. It's not prohibitively expensive, really. Give it a go and see how you get on. You will find you probably learn a bit more about the game because you're put in a setting of like, oh, how does the betrayal board work? And you watch far too many hours of how the betrayal board works, you know,
or you just inevitably, like every other person in, you know, 2 or 3 man group found leagues, end up in Manny's stream asking him questions.
Exactly. Yeah. Manny just knows the stuff, you know, just ask him and he'll, you know, sigh and be exasperated, but he'll answer you, you know? So it's, There's no winner here, Kat. There's no winner here. Just if you feel like you want to be a bit masochistic, go solo self-found. If you're a tiny bit more vanilla than that, go group found. And if you just want, the same old secure, safe thing, hit up trade. You'll have a blast.
For me, I like both of them so much that my plan moving forward is just to alternate league starts. So I'm going to go straight softcore trade next league. And then the league after that, I'm going to start in a 1 month private league again.
Yeah.
Or 5 weeks, because I think that was a pretty good time. Except next time we're going to have like a proper idea of like a little bit better tracking and a little bit better, like make sure we take care of people and probably have an actual end date so that it's not a shock when I leave.
Yeah.
And then also have like a plan to like split things in such a way that everyone feels as if they've at least entered trade in an okay state to look after themselves.
Best of luck with that, bro. Best of luck with that.
I'll do it. I'll get it done.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of our like blasters, including myself, will be very happy to leave and go to trade with very minimal stuff.
Yeah.
Because we know we can reacquire anything we want.
For sure.
So that'll leave a lot of potential wealth that I can split up. And everyone, I think I can make everybody happy. Is that a lofty goal?
That's a fairly lofty goal. I'm not going to lie.
As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, you cannot make everybody happy. That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
You are literally setting yourself up for an aggressive fisting that you're not going to have a fun time with. Like, this is
I'm going to try.
Yeah,
I'm going to try and make everybody happy.
And that's a good thing. Like, credit to you. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that mentality, fantastic. You
fool.
Just...
Someone's gonna clip that, and then next league when they're not happy, they're gonna come and paste it in your stream, and so go, "Where's my exalt, bro? Where is it?"
He doesn't
craft all these things.
If somebody says it exactly like that, I'll make sure they get one.
It's essentially like the light version of when Chris used to say something when he was getting interviewed before a league launch, and then somebody hits him with a clip 6 weeks later being like, "Chris, what the hell?" So
this is never gonna happen.
Yeah, like there's notes being made, people are filing away this random statement by you, and it's going to gather dust for 8 weeks, but it's going to come back out and it's going to be polished. Oh,
don't even take that long.
No, absolutely not. They'll keep it going. They'll keep it running along and along. But it's still, I wholeheartedly agree. It having probably a set end date is even something that even with discount league, I would now probably consider to 6 weeks. Anytime you get to about the 5 week or the 6 week mark, people are kind of like, they're probably on their 4th or 5th reroll, or double digits if they're that kind of player as well. So it tends to be a natural point where you start seeing people migrate out, So.
That also seems like the kind of point where the very experienced people start to want to move into min-max territory that might not be plausible to do.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And you're just like, well, look, I've done a few things and it was really fun, but like now I want this triple elevated thing to go with these 4 split personalities and this thing that I want to do of insert stacking mechanic here.
Yeah.
And we can't accomplish that.
Nah, it's way too much to try and accomplish, and probably more so on top of that, it's bloody frustrating if you're to try, like you will start not enjoying the game, which is counterproductive across the board, that's why sometimes when I tune into Aphelion PoE and he's 7 hours deep on trying to get one minuscule piece, I'll be like, hey, we have that in the private league, and then I'm timed out for 60 seconds. I feel his pain. So I suppose that's my question.
It's painful having you come into my chat and say things. I wish
every time you speak. Wait, what?
Yeah. Every time we raid it, it's just it's potatoes and stuff, but whatever. But no, like for real, memes aside, the solo self-found approach that you have, Aphelion, like I saw you had a Notepad++ fucking screenshot the other day of the steps that you needed to do to farm up the things that you wanted for the next build. I'm not built that way. I looked at that and I'm like, this man is psychotic. Is he playing a game right now or what's going on? He's been thinking about this at work and he typed that shit out and he's now going to do it 100%.
It sounded a lot more like praise when he said that backstage before the show.
He can never know how I truly feel.
It's important that when you give people positive feedback and credit, that you do that privately, and that when you insult people, you do that publicly. At least when they're your friends.
Yes,
that's a very important thing.
Yes, it's yeah.
I thought I made
Sounds
this clear
about
when I
right.
come up to visit you, Bantix. We're not friends.
No, that's why we drank copious amounts of beers in breweries, and we still didn't. Aphelion coined the term liver kegels. The Irish must do liver kegels in order to drink as much as they do. So I don't know if there's truth to that, but you know, it was what we took away from that visit and friendship. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Sorry.
I learned so much though. Like I didn't really have much to chime in on, especially with the taking care of the technical difficulties side and all that. But I learned so much because I want to do that private league soon again as well. And it's been too long that I hosted one, so I was very, very carefully listening to the takeaways that you guys had.
I remember the last private league, I think yourself and myself were in Catmaster, was Trix's hardcore on the internet. It's basically
we had a hardcore on the internet once.
Yeah, that was
Trix and Perry the Pig, and Aphelion, and
it was
all the
fun.
cool kids.
But like you even see like Zizarin and Steel Mage doing the Bro SF stuff as well. Like, and that's kind of where I always, fair enough, the two of them play like 12 plus hours a day and whatnot, so they can get a lot more done. But it's an argument that you don't necessarily need large numbers of people for the private league setting to work. That's why you and a group of mates can do it. And like we've had discount leagues where 10 to 15 people have gotten so much done, especially if the rapport is really good. And we've had leagues where we've had 150 people and plenty has gotten done, and plenty has been completely unhinged as well. You know, it's it's just absolutely unreal sometimes. Name and lights, the race for name and lights in a private league is a whole different kettle of fish when it comes to like versus trade. People are frothing to get the name and lights as they're leveling up, going through the zones, going into hideouts. It's like, calm down, guys. We've got 8 weeks. It's fine. It's fine, you know? So highly recommend it.
I guess when it's just so few other people, then you're just like, well, they can't possibly all be better than me. I must be better than someone, right?
There's like,
at least in something.
There's like 3 or 4 people who are unholy at the speed at which they go through the campaign and up to the first 2 watchstones. It's crazy.
Yep.
And it's really, really cool. And it's always like, you know, you hit them up with a message, be like, how do you do this? And they'll give you a bit of insight, but a lot of the times it's just like, you know, think about what you're doing and do it better than what you're doing. I'm like, what? I'm always a kind of like,
whenever you're struggling, just go faster.
Just go faster. Just do better. You know, it's like that doesn't help me, you know, but at the same time, I'm also the kind of guy that's like 80% is good enough, right? You want that T1 movement speed? It's fine. Like the rest of the item is good. We'll settle for 80% and I'll come back to you in 20 days when I really wish that I had the T1 movement speed instead. Like stuff like that. You know, it's really about where you're comfortable with the game and what you want to be doing, you know, so. Hop on.
I personally have the most fun with the game when I feel like I'm struggling. I always recognize that the moment that everything becomes easy, the moment the build becomes good, which you know, luckily that doesn't happen that often for me. But I notice when I fight a boss for like 10 minutes and I die 3 times and portal back in and all that, that's when I'm having the most fun.
Yeah. Well, it's also because
that struggle bus.
You'd hope as well that at that point you're kind of learning what is killing you, apart from like mechanical mishaps.
Oh no, I've given up on that in Path of Exile.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what game are we playing again?
I'm still learning, apparently. Like, well, see, that's kind of the thing as well, right? Like when a build kind of comes online, a lot of the times especially with people who may end up re-rolling a lot, it's probably not giving it enough time in the oven to cook, right? The build, especially if they're following a guide.
Or it was just bad, but yeah.
Or it was just bad. Yep, that is also a valid argument. That's why you always, whenever you have somebody pop in and is like, hey, what do you think about body swap? And I'm like, I got whiplash. I'm like, body swap? Are we talking body swap totems? Please tell me we're talking body swap totems. No, they're like self-casting body swap. I'm like, dear Lord. So it's always a case of like, is this a build that you came up with? Or is this a build guide that you were following? And you kind of wait to find out which it is, because at that point, you're just trying to direct expectations and be helpful without being like, hey, that's probably going to suck balls. And you don't really want to go through
that balance is always the harshest.
It's hard. It's just hard.
Have you considered my approach? I just tell people that sucks balls. That's a terrible idea.
I have
whenever I think it's bad, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, yo, I don't know if you came up with this yourself, but you're not ready for build creation if you did.
Yeah. Stop.
This is a terrible plan. And then people get upset with me.
Yeah. It's just that part. I don't want to deal with that. Like, honestly, Balor, from what you're saying, now I can safely be like, hey, you know who's really good at giving guidance on whether or not your build is good or not? Just head on over to BalorMage. Like, he'll be online in like 7 hours, and he's got you. Trust you got.
And then intentionally send the bad builds to me.
Yeah. So like essentially, you are like the studded fucking like paddle that I need. So I'll just send them. They'll go to you. You'll hit them with the reality, and then they'll come back a bit sad to me, and I'll be like, "Wow, that's unfortunate. Shame I didn't look at it. Anyway, back to blasting. You know, like." But
Yo, Aphelion, by the way, the sharing builds and the POBs made me think. You asked me for that Trapper POB because you wanted to try and see whether you want to do that as a boss killer in SSF. Did you end up doing that one, or did you go for a different boss killer spec?
I didn't. After I started magic finding some more, a lot of new items fell into my lap, and I've ended up deciding to go with Arc, the Arc of Surging, which uses that interaction with Hydrosphere that's probably not intended.
Definitely not intended.
That probably, not going to exist ever again. But, I think I got baited by the video that Jungron put out about one-shotting Hydra. And
can you be very clear for those of us who don't know about the interaction? Which interaction, and why do you think it's bugged?
So
I know that there's something with Arc.
Right.
Sorry, go for it.
So, you can see this in both Ziggy D's video about his Trickster and Jungron's video about his Assassin. But basically, when you use Arc of Surging, the transfigured version of Arc, instead of chaining, it splits towards a bunch of different targets at the same time. And when you cast that at Hydrosphere, the gem explicitly says, when you cast it, it can't hit the target more than once. But for some reason, when you cast it at Hydrosphere, all of the split beams can hit the same target. So you end up hitting the same target something like 40 or 50 times when you use like Unleash or whatever, or what have you. So I'm planning on playing that as a Trickster, but I'm sure there's other heresy you can do with it as well. Like, if you were somehow able to get like mines or traps to work, I'm sure some crazy person can go envision that. But I'm just like, I noticed Al Kaiser was playing a version of this in HC before he unfortunately ripped to some serious bullshit, which was very unfortunate to see. But I think I can make it work pretty well on SSFSC as long as I can get the gear crafted. So at the time that you shared that build with me, I hadn't dropped a Ralakesh's Impatience yet. I hadn't dropped a Void Battery. I hadn't dropped what else? All the other basic stuff you need to Badge of the Brotherhood. Yeah. So I have all that stuff now, and the build just kind of falls into place from there.
Yeah, that charge stacking is so powerful. It's kind of crazy how Ralakesh's Impatience work now.
It's a backbone for a lot of builds from what I've seen, even just like casually glancing at PoE Ninja. It's a backbone of a lot of things, which is kind of cool. But anytime you see Ralakesh Impatience, I'm like, oh, I see what we're doing here. We're going.
Well, like the thing is, it's so silly because directly mitigates the natural downsides of charges as a balance point, right? Like, because charges are balanced around being not always up, right? The downside is you only gain them sometimes, and like they're only temporary unless you invest into it somehow, somewhere. And even then, there's some moments where you don't have them all up, and then Reliquous Impatience just turns them all into permanent stats.
Yep.
Without any question.
You're
and
entirely
then on top
correct.
of that, enables the alt charges from the Maven belts, because you can still gain those and still count as
cracked.
maximum of the original charges, which is kind of cracked. And then also,
I think it wouldn't be out of place to make Reliquous into a T0 unique. With how they are now.
At
like
least
an actual chase
tier
item.
1, it's tier 3 or something right now. It's super common.
That's wild. Because it's essentially T0, a T1 T0 would definitely kind of curb a bit, because it's still a fun unique, and it enables a lot of stuff, but just some of the stuff that's coming out with that is absolutely cracked, and like you said, with the Maven belts as well,
Yeah, that's the direction I'm pulling in. I'm pretty close to getting it rolled, but still a few more things required before I can get that done.
You resisted the allure of Penance Brand then, did you?
I'm sad because I think I talked about this at the last podcast I was on, possibly, but I wanted to do Penance Brand before the league started, and then
Everyone's doing it.
Everyone did it, and I think it's just that like I wanted a new problem to solve.
Yeah.
And that one felt kind of like a solved problem. He says as he plays someone else's build anyway, but I don't know. I'm different, I guess. Whatever. I get to be unique.
Just for anyone who's listening, right? Like, streamers, though they may not say it outright, we do in fact just follow other people's build guides, or at least take them as a template and tweak them. We highly recommend everyone does the same as well.
Well, even if you're trying to come up with an original build, wouldn't it be extremely silly to not look at what other people already have done in that direction?
You would
there's
think
so
that
many obscure interactions in Path of Exile.
You would think that, but then I have to send people to BalorMage going forward to tell them to do that, because just it's a different way of I suppose it's one way of doing it. Some people want to approach an ARPG and they just want to discover it or figure it out themselves, and big respect to doing that, especially in PoE that requires so much time to get to a point where you can actually start seeing how your idea is working, especially if you're new. And then there are other people who are like, somebody please hold my hand so I can learn, say, the league mechanics and not have to worry about whether or not the build is going to work. There's different sides to it, and I kind of feel like with Path of Exile in general, we all know it's not necessarily a new player friendly game, but giving direction, or at least kind of highlighting how you can approach it and figuring out what type of ARPG gamer you are, can kind of help set you on a path that you'll at least be enjoying whichever you're doing, be it following the build guide and slowly getting better and better and better at learning the mechanics, or throwing your face headlong into wall after wall after wall, because if you hit the wall hard enough with your head, you'll eventually go through it, So it's whatever tickles your pickle.
I think the important thing there is to set expectations, though. Like, to pull on that thread a little bit that you started there, you mentioned the word discovery. And I think, there are plenty of players that enjoy the process of discovery in an ARPG, and they like to, roll new characters once they hit level 37 or whatever, and try going down this tree instead, and just like explore the sort of diversity of archetypes and skills within certain archetypes that that our ARPG has, and then they might drop it and go to play another ARPG. But a lot of the frustration, I think, comes from then going and watching Twitch and seeing, and again, like both Chris and Jonathan have made this point on various podcasts throughout PoE history. People like to go on Twitch and see what a streamer is doing and feel connected to that somehow. Like, I should be able to do that. But their lane that they've sort of set out on, and the way the way their enjoyment works, is that they like to explore. Whereas, the thing that they're watching is akin to, like, getting mad that you can't play, I don't know, Aladdin as fast as someone at GDQ can.
Yeah,
Like it's a very different lane of practice. So
for sure.
I think they're like, I'm not sure that there's anything really that like a game dev in general, never mind GDG, can do about that.
Nah.
Like, so while exploring and experimenting and discovery is really cool and really great part of ARPGs, at the end of the day, I think it's a personal responsibility of people to, if they have an idea and they want to pursue it, be real about their expectations. And if you're going into Bantix chat and asking him if body swap is viable, I mean, probably, like, if he tells you no, then you can still play it. Just be realistic about what it can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it'll get you through, as we all know, it'll get you through the campaign. How fast it gets you through the campaign remains to be seen, but it'll get you through. It'll then just be a case of, if you have expectations of doing uber pinnacle bosses, you're in the wrong lane.
Maybe
like Aphelion says. Maybe just don't. And that's kind of like, I do not understand the maths. Like, there's a lot of maths in PoE, right? And that's just not my forte. So, like, you mentioned Jung Roan, Aphelion. Like, I adore Jung Roan's stuff that he puts out, just because whenever I'm watching him throw something together, he has the fundamental understanding of how the game kind of defenses and offenses and scaling stuff like that work. Or at least when he's like, oh, how do I solve this problem, he knows where and what to try and slot in. Which, even for me, like, I've played like 6,000 hours now, that every time he's doing that, I'm like, I don't understand, dude. Give me the POB, just give me the POB, and I can like look at it, but it's very much, there's very much people who are built at doing that and figuring it out. Then they might make the build guides, and then or people who are then not that way inclined, then hopefully can dissect it and kind of understand it. And I imagine, at least when I'm streaming, trying to walk people through tempering their expectation based on whatever build they're following or what they're trying to achieve tends to be half of the job more than anything else. Like, I want people to enjoy Path of Exile. It's a good fucking game. Like, there's very few games that rival it in terms of the content that it offers and the fun you can have with it. But holy Christ, do you have to like try and put blinders onto people to just like trust, just walk in this direction for a time. I trust, I'm not walking you anywhere you don't want to walk, but you gotta walk this way for a time.
Yeah, and I usually don't like to interrupt a lot, but like, you're really good at like just adding another sentence and another sentence and another sentence, and I just have to hook in here because there were some things that I wanted to talk about, and I had some good segues, but we're already past them. But
reverse.
What I wanted to know real quickly is, seeing that we already, so there was some technical difficulties, but we're well into the second hour, or going into the second hour, we should be shifting our focus on talking about the current game more than about the game in general. And I was curious about, once again, what Aphelion was doing. If you haven't done, have you not made another character and you've been on MF the entire month since
not
we
MF
talked?
per se. It's more like one character that has a couple of different, like, I don't know, we'll call them setups, I guess. So like I can either do MF or I can do, bossing with it or whatever. It's just Omni TS or it's MF with a bunch
TS, baby.
Stupid MF gear. But the next character is coming soon, TM.
Content.
Yeah, no, I'm
coming.
just curious how much you accumulated in all that time. It's been so much time, right? You've been continuously at it.
To the character, you mean?
No, I mean specifically the MF thing. Look, I'm looking to play Badger's Private League, right? Or what used to be Badger's Private League, the BPL. And my team has told me that I need to MF, right? I need to be an MFer. So like, I do have things that I want to talk about in this podcast, but I was mostly trying to get you guys talk about how to MF with Affliction and how to do Affliction right, so I can get the most out of it and learn how I can BPL.
I see what this podcast is now. I understand. Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple of resources that you can look at that should get you pretty well started. So there's Garatha's video on his Magic Find build with Caustic Arrow of Poison, and then there's Fubgun's video with the Wildwood, and then you can get a pretty basic magic find strat going in, either T7 Cemetery. I prefer T9 Dunes, or T8 something, so you can drop Brass Dome and Void Battery or whatever. And you get that going, and all you really need are gilded or maybe even polished reliquary scarabs, and gilded abyss scarabs are the important one. So with that stuff, you can start like a mini little baby, just learn to walk magic find strat and scale it from there. And I'm sure you can take it from there and figure out how to improve things, right? Sextants and winged scarabs and upgrading the character. It can get pretty crazy. And the one thing that you probably need to do ahead of time is set up loot filters.
Yep.
Plural. So one loot filter, you don't want to see anything except things that tink, and two is for looting the map afterwards.
Yeah. It's very, very, very low investment approachable as well. Like Gilded Abyss Scarab, Garatha's Atlas Tree, seventh Gate Abyss Craft on the map. Roll the map to have +2 proj. Go in, pray you don't get pumped by the rares.
The +2 proj is important for the spires to spawn the more rares. Yeah.
And then like adjacent to that is the wisps. I think it's the purple juice that adds in extra proj based on how much of that you have.
Dream is like
a nice extra
mix of yellow and purple.
Go again.
The dream is a nice healthy mix of yellow and purple for the rewards. The dangers are purple adds extra projectiles to anything that gets empowered. Yellow adds tons of speed, and blue gives them increased
crit.
The dream in my mind is all three. If I was to design it perfectly, I'm literally going to have 2,000 to everything or 3,000 to everything. Equal numbers, all three is by far the best.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get to choose, but
like the take. I think actually Dagum, who's in the chat, he mentioned it that when he was doing it in discount, once he gets 1,500 of one color, in and around 1,500, 2,000, try to see if you can find other colors while in the Wildwood. Granted, a lot of that is going to be based on what events you have in there and what you manage to find when going through the Wildwood. But even doing like the bare minimum for it, you can walk out with divine. Like I did 10 cemeteries the other day, and I came out with 5 divines and 9 exalts and a bunch of annuls and a few T2, T1 uniques. So and that was on a build with no magic find. I had no magic find. So as long as you don't kill the spires way too quick, you'll be fine. And if you find you do kill the spires too quick, you can allocate Wellspring of Creation on the Atlas tree to give it even more life. But I wouldn't recommend that, because then the abyss
monsters also have more life.
Nothing like running for your.
That's why you're going with the Bowchar, right? Like, so you can actually stop attacking when you don't want to kill. I think that should be fine. But that would probably make your Tornado Shot Elemental a little bit better than going with a poison setup. The poison is probably the best starter.
I did it with Penance Brand, and I just had to get a brand recall in there to pull the brands off the spire so it didn't nuke it too quick. But yeah, the bow bills or the wander bills or anything like that, poison is going to be definitely a bit trickier to do, because you're going to have to go up and like love tap the spire for a bit, watch it trickle down, pray you don't get pumped by the rares that do spawn, and then repeat another 2 times. So and that'll all depend on the mods of the map. But again, all this is to say, it's super straightforward, and the most important thing tends to be the wisps. If you can get the combo of wisps, you want to. It's GG if you can get 3, but 2 at the you want to mix. You want to mix ideally. So it's crazy.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out with the wisps. Sometimes you just get like 2 NPCs and then it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm sick of seeing the Warden, dude. I'm sick of seeing the Warden. I'm like, I get it. Like, you were good when I was in Act 3 and I needed to just zoom my ass through this campaign, but I need to not see you anymore. So, Or the quests itself. But, like, I saw Baylor the other day while he was leveling his Wander, had the joy of trying to find the what is it, the yellow monsters before maps. Ooh, nothing like getting 26 of those out of 4,000 while you're in
That
the
is
campaign.
just painful. Those quests should be once-off things, by the way.
Yeah,
like once per account or whatever.
I still haven't found the king for my third charm. It's been that rough, and I've specifically not followed wisps to try and find it as well. So he's an elusive little bastard.
So I haven't rolled a second character, and I haven't had to deal with that.
It's coming your way, baby.
No, but I was wondering, like, when you have two characters and you find one king in the mist, it counts for both characters, right? But like, it only
no.
You have to do it separately for both.
You get to search for that prick.
I think
again.
someone told me that, or
someone lied.
Someone lied.
Or someone
knowing
said that
you would
was the
suffer.
case for them, or maybe they misunderstood something. Maybe I misunderstood something. But you're clear, like you're 100% on that. You have to do it per character.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on, Catmaster, get your head in the game here. You're going to be magic finding.
Well, I knew about the
Come
first.
on.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But the good thing is, I'm gonna get the Abyss Scarabs and like a lot of things from the team, right? The bad thing is, if I find good things while I'm effing, I'm gonna have to give them to the team.
Yes.
And I won't get to funnel everything into my character.
Just
All to warm
always
up for your private league experience.
exactly. Or just use the excuse of like, hey guys, I'm actually not doing quite enough damage for the spires. I'm gonna hold on to this, but obviously within reason. You know, you got to be coy about it.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if that's the good thing. If I actually find a headhunter, then it's like probably best use on me, right?
Well, the other side of it is you're going to have crafters as well, right? So in order for you to do better and harder and more magic finding, they are also going to want to funnel gear to you, much like Balor was getting in his league as well. When you have the dedicated roles, it should make the process a bit easier. But yeah, the first 2 or 3 days are definitely going to be a fun experience. Just you'll be making friends with the ground, and 6 portals are there for a reason, you know.
6 extra layers of defense.
6 extra layers of defense at the healthy cost of minus 10 XP every single time. But XP is a myth once you hit 90.
I generally find it's pretty easy for me to get to about level 96. And I'll just consider level 97 maximum level. That's the maximum level.
You just accidentally make it up to it. And you're like, oh, I am 97.
I just like skip my way to 96, and then it's a struggle to get from 96 to 97, and then there is no 98.
Aphelion is having flashbacks over here when he's grinding to 100 every single league. He's just like, yeah, isn't that great, guys? It's just wonderful. Just not dying at 99 and wasting 4 hours of time. It's great. Tell me I'm wrong.
I will say leveling this league isn't that bad. Like if you just
ditch,
if you just ditch at like 3k wisps or something and your build is somewhat strong, you get so much experience. Like I'm used to having to measure my XP per map from level 98 to 99 in the area of like 0.5 to 1% maybe. And this league it's been 2 to 5. It's been absolutely insane. I even had I had a series of 2 very unfortunate events where I died to a dot effect from the King of the Mists after he died, and then I got ambushed by that stupid banshee thing in the forest that teleports around you. Yeah, the thing right from a horror movie or whatever. And so minus 20 for me, and I'm down from 95% to 75%. I leveled to 99 the next map. Because at 98, level 299, the next map from 75%, because I found a 200% and then a 300% XP shrine in the same Wildwood, and I got 25% in a single map at 98. The XP is insane. Never mind the loot. That's crazy. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Look at us getting excited over XP. That's you just know we've played too much PoE. We're like, oh, look at that bar go. My XP.
So like Catmaster, what about MF are you specifically looking forward to?
Yeah.
Like do you have that?
Well, I haven't done it all league, like, right? I purposefully didn't make a character, even though like everyone told me I should, and like someone from my community offered me to get all his gear when he started in Balor's private league. and I was just like, well, I'm gonna do my thing here. I'm still gonna make money, right? I have these two characters. The one is the trapper that I still haven't geared to really do bosses well with, but I've killed an all, I've killed Maven, I've killed like a lot of things, but I think a round or two of upgrades and I can really take on Uber bosses like extremely easily. I just haven't tried it yet because I've been having so much fun with the other character, which was the charge staking meta, as we talked about Relikish Impatience, embracing the badge of the Brotherhood and the Slayer, and then obviously being able to run Replica Restless Ward, because who cares about -2 maximum frenzy and endurance? My maximum frenzy and endurance are based on my maximum power anyway, so I get 10. And yeah, that character wasn't as expensive to get started as I was told it would be. It was actually really budget. Like a lot of the uniques, really easy to get into. You just need a very expensive, elegant hubris. But I was able to get a different one, like the one with the same seed but a different keystone, because I didn't need the keystone that was in the original build.
Yeah.
And then it was budget. Instead of like 50 divine, it was only 8 divine.
Yeah. It's been really cool.
You don't need that to get started. Sorry?
I was just going to comment, like just kind of reacting to what you said. It's been really cool hearing a lot of the enthusiasm coming from many people about the new builds that they want to try, just as a result of like the new gems and some, the rework of Relikish and the several other things that were changed. They advertised it. Mark in the pre-league podcast or announcement trailer said that it was one of the biggest meta shakeups that PoE has ever seen, and it seems like that's been true so far. I mean, of course, there are clear outliers and things that tinctures and charms and whatnot have enabled specifically for this league, but in general, it seems like there's a lot of excitement around transfigured gems and a lot of cool new possibilities. I myself have been kind of side-eyeing like Blade Blast of Dagger Detonation. There has to be a way to make that good, maybe with like Benos or something, but like I don't know, like there has to be a way, but like it's that kind of thing that makes you like really start to wonder, and it'll be cool to see what else people come up with.
There's a build going around at the moment. I've seen a few clips of it. Somebody's using Frost Blink of Wintry Blast with a cast on crit. I think it's like a frenzy setup. It's essentially a more controlled flicker strike, and it looks hilarious.
I think I've seen 2 or 3 for Frostblink setups by now.
Yeah. I've seen a few people just do this thing where they'll be playing like a bow build or whatever, and they'll just have a weapon swap into like a shield, and the shield will just be Cyclone cast while channel Frostblink of Wintry Blast, and they'll just be like a bow or a wand build or something that can't even use it, and they'll just go weapon swap. Just fucking zoom.
It's so good.
You're like, you can't even use those weapons. They're in a weapon swap, and you just go click. No,
my people need me. Whoa! The Doppler effect.
Crazy.
Wait, am I missing something here? Wouldn't it be faster to just cast it directly, because the Frostblink of Wintry Blast doesn't have a cooldown?
No,
right?
it's got the worst. It's got like the worst cast speed, and there'll be
got
like
a
bow
horrible
builds or
base
attack
cast.
builds or something.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
they'll
right,
just trigger it on
But
the
I'm just saying, with
channel.
cast-wall channeling, obviously it's like, only
like
procced at
cast
a
wall
certain
channeling
rate.
is like the you're soft rolling into it, and then you start getting absolutely psychotic, and you're like, I'll do this as cast on crit, and at least I know.
One of them just put in a woke cast while channel, just because it has a shorter cooldown. Just go.
Hey bro, I'm gonna stack a bunch of cooldown recovery, and I'm gonna fucking fly.
Yeah.
It's that's like, I agree wholeheartedly with Aphelion. It's just the stuff, and fair enough, like right now this league, there's very, very clear outliers. We all know that they're going to get politely tweaked next league, more than likely. Then there's going to be other stuff that we didn't necessarily see. Like even Palstron was saying with the kinetic bolt of fragmentation, he's like, go through the new transfigured gems and even have a look at the ones that you can use at level 1, 4, 8, 12. And have a look at how they're adjusted for like their damage effectiveness and other stats, because some of them are probably balanced for like, yeah, at level 20 this will be fine, but some of them being down usable at level 1 with that kind of scaling is cracked, you know. So it's going to be really cool to see what comes out over the next few leagues, you know. A lot of
kinetic blast at level 1 is insane if you haven't done it.
250% scaling of spell damage is
and then there's a level 1 pair of gloves that has 100% spell damage.
So
its downside is cast speed, which you don't even care about.
Let's go.
So at level 1, you just get 250% increased damage. Just at level 1.
Yeah. It's unreal.
Like, you walk out the door with like, I don't know, chance to poison supports like 2 to 4 poison damage, and you just one-shot everything on the way through.
You just wiggle a piece of driftwood and something. Like, what's the fiery cannibal in the coast just went over like that?
Oh, yeah, no, it just falls over.
You know,
like it's not even a fight. It's a white mob.
I've never felt happier than watching the Roas not get within 10 meters of me.
I love it. Like, I had like 4 of them charge me, and you just attack once in that direction. You watch them all just die as they're moving. Like, oh yeah, fuck you, Roa.
Be gone. My projectiles compel you to fuck off. You know. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really, really, really cool, and I'm excited to see what people are going to start coming up with, like towards the latter half of the league, because people are already swimming in money, but now it's going to be like, all right, what am I going to piss this up the wall on, you know? And something's going to stick, and it's going to be really cool. So wild.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely still a little bit of time until after the BPL. None of you guys is playing the BPL, right? Okay. I
just did BPL for a month.
Yeah.
True. One team BPL.
To be fair, like I really thought about like not doing it because I didn't want to burn out, and there's so many other things to do in regular league, but I haven't done BPL in like 2 leagues, and I don't want to get completely out of it. So I was like, yeah, this one I do again. Plus, there's people in my community that are excited about it, and it's always a fun time. It's just I have to take care to not burn myself out too hard.
Yeah. It's a prime example again of like when you have like big community stuff like that, be it the BPL or any races or events or anything like that. Don't know what's happening with Gauntlet, that kind of stuff. It's cool to see the community, even if you're very, very lightly like aware of it, it can still be fun. You know that there's going to be some quality shenanigans to be had in it, you know. So yeah, I hope you have a blast, man. Yeah, what are the team names? Thorns is one. What are the other team names?
I think Thorn, Claw, Rot, and something else.
Wow. Very, very
pretty cool. Yeah. I like how they've done how many, like 20 of these? No, 13, 14. And like they always come up with new, like interesting themes and like logos for the teams and all that stuff. Yeah. But we've done an entire episode on BPL, so we shouldn't get stuck on that.
No, all good. Put on the blinders. Go, Catmaster. Where am I going by?
Has any of you guys watched and I'm ashamed that I haven't yet, but the new interview with Ziggy D and Jonathan?
Yes. That was the best one.
Rory.
Was it?
Right.
It was good. I have not.
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Some takeaways that you want to share? Or like, imagine I haven't watched it yet. What can you say to get me excited to watch it?
Here's my number one takeaway. Of every single interview that ever happens from anybody ever, Ziggy D is the best host.
Yeah, agreed.
He is so good at directing the flow of an interview. So much so that it feels like he's got proper media training, not just some streamer. Like I don't know if he knows how many miles in front of everybody else he is as a host.
Oh, it's night and day.
But it is insane. None of us compare.
Yeah.
That's my actual number one takeaway. Ziggy D is by far the best host for something like that of anyone I've seen.
Yeah. It's a huge skill. Like it's a monstrous skill. And I'm sure he sees it in his day to day as well as being used. Well, he might not even be aware of it. Like you said,
I'm not even sure if he knows
just such a good dude.
That good at it, because he's also just not arrogant at all.
Correct.
Like he's the opposite of arrogant. In fact, he seems to underestimate how good he is at things all the time. Like when you meet him in person, he's very humble.
Yeah.
And that probably helps. That's probably helping.
He also,
I don't know, but he's really good at it.
He seems what I kind of really like about him as well is he seems to realize that he is a conduit for information from GGG and those figureheads to us, and he takes that. He takes it seriously. He very much tries to get the information that we are looking for, tries to get the information that we're looking for, and in a very gracious and humble and professional way. So thank God the community has him. It's phenomenal.
Oh
yeah. So that's your big number one takeaway. The talk, correct me now if I'm wrong, the talk was specifically centered around PoE 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Since Jonathan was involved, right?
Yeah. And there was quite a lot of good information in there.
Great.
Quite a lot of exciting things that have immediately escaped my mind. But I remember being excited several times.
Yeah.
In this second, I've forgotten absolutely everything I was excited about.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll remember them when this is over.
It's really cool to see how hyped Jonathan gets whenever he's asked about PoE in general, but then specifically PoE 2. The man loves, like he loves the game, and he wants us to love the game. Like he's very passionate, and
I think you can so liberally apply that to anyone at GGG.
Absolutely.
You just have the feeling that they're making a game that they themselves want to play authentically, right? I don't usually get that from others that much.
It's really
not the same sense of like investment.
Yeah. I want to watch that interview and kind of dissect it. The PoE 2 v PoE 1 dynamic. I'm not sure if you guys have discussed it previously on the podcast or recently on the podcast.
No, we never talk about PoE 2.
Yeah, fair.
No, it's been brought up, but I'm actually interested. Where do you stand on it?
For me, like I'm super excited for PoE 2, and even when we first got the initial release and the initial footage of it, I haven't had the good fortune to play it because I wasn't able to get to ExileCon, but it's very clear that it has a different pace to Path of Exile 1, and I was happy to hear that they are going to be separate games. Because when it was initially released, it's kind of like, how do we go from what we have, or when it was initially teased, I should say, how do we go from what we have right now in PoE 1, where we're blasting like lunatics, to what they are showing in PoE 2, even in the later stages? It is very much more a kind of slower but more meaningful combat, right? It kind of has the Lost Ark vibes to it and stuff like that. So I'm excited to try it because I can't remember the last time I played an ARPG that kind of felt like it had that weight to your decisions moment to moment in combat and stuff like that. And I just hope it scratches an itch. There's definitely going to be a segment of the player base who are going to love that. And there are going to be people who want to blast. And I'm sure Path of Exile players, being Path of Exile players, will find a way to blast in PoE 2 as well, So
I've been reminded by both that sentence and chat of two of the things that really excited me when I listened.
Yes,
and
let's go.
So one of them was they were talking about the pause mechanic, and it sounded like during solo play in PoE 2, you will be able to pause if you're on your own.
Ooh.
But it just hitting escape will literally just pause the map.
Okay.
Because there was no reason to not have that once they have the ability. So fantastic. Only works when you're alone. If you're in a party, you can't pause the map on other people. That was our initial thought. And then it was asked, well, how does that work in a party? And the answer was, okay, if everyone in a party pauses, if everyone hits escape, the map pauses. But there'll be a warning on the screen because if a single one of your party members unpauses, everyone unpauses.
Oh,
With a special warning that means if you're in a map on your own and you pause and you're like, oh, I need to go get a coffee, I'll be back in a minute. But your friend's in their own map.
oh,
They can pop out over into your map just to troll you, unpause it, get you killed, then leave, and it'll repause with you dead on the floor.
What,
So they
random
can
people from your
100%
friend
troll you.
list can join your map?
No, only if they're already in your party.
if you
okay,
were,
don't have them in your party when you're solo mapping. Like,
Yeah,
what-
but
that's bad.
now-
That's just bad mapping practice, dude.
That's hilarious.
that is
But,
pretty funny.
the second thing was we got to watch. We were talking about the pause mechanic, and we got to watch Jonathan basically cook in real time because somebody asked him, "Well, with the ability to pause at the drop of a hat, how come we can't have? We've got a 6-second disconnect timer right now, which is like a lengthy problem." And he was like, "How come we can't have like a shorter period where if you're lagging, instead of kicking you out, it just pauses the game because you can already just pause at any time with escape. So why not have that?" And we watched him immediately start to answer no because the default is we can't change that. They've already established that. And then you watch him and he goes, "Wait a minute. Hang on." So if you can't, well, if we're already letting you pause and we're already tracking,
You could already have a
whether you lag
macro
or
that
not,
does
and
that
then-
for you.
and then he was like trying to work out how you could abuse that or if like some cheat would give you some advantage over that. And it looked like the decision they came to was anything that you could program a cheat to do is something we're already letting you do in the client. What's the cheat going to do? Like pause your client? If you're in danger, hit escape. Same thing. So like they didn't
had a
promise
thought.
it, but they said, I can't see any reason not to do that. So we'll talk to some people and look into it.
I love that.
Not promising, but there doesn't seem like there should be a reason to not do that. And watching him like work through that was really cool. And the other thing that was really, really cool was one of their solutions was pickup radius. It gets talked about all the time. And they were like, yeah, we're definitely going to put in some bigger pickup radius. The question is to how much pickup radius is still up in the air. But they want enough at least that if you need to pick up loot or talk to an NPC that's standing in the fire, you can just stand over here and pick up loot over there that's in the fire instead of having to stand in the fire to pick it up.
Yeah.
That
Which
part
is
was
very
so cool, and
nice.
like seeing like two different and like kind of disparate seeming problems that people often have with PoE start to connect with one solution. Like that's one of the things that I really admire about these guys, and especially hearing Jonathan talk is just like hearing these things that they've brewed up in the background where it's like, wow, you guys really do think about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're receptive to hearing our input when it is delivered in the appropriate manner and in a practical, usable manner as well, which is super, super cool. I love Jonathan. Jonathan's just so good. He just gets so pumped over everything, and you love to see it.
Right, I'm sold now. I need to go watch that interview soon.
Yeah, same. Was that just that was just with Ziggy, was it? Was there one, or was it with Noogie and Rise as well?
Noogie and Rise as well. Yep.
Cool. Solid.
They were both really good as well. Like it was actually the whole thing was like the best interview.
It was a great interview, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll echo what you said about Jonathan. Like it's just so good hearing him talk. He offers a pretty refreshing sort of approach to speaking with a community or with a broader group of people that you don't often get, from the very polished and, finely crafted presentations at, whatever other conventions from other video game developers and such. Like he just sits on a couch, holds a microphone in his hand, and just says, yeah, this part sucks and we're going to fix it. Yeah. It's refreshing. And honestly, I'm really glad we have access to that now.
Yeah.
It is surprisingly nice to hear any developer say, actually, that sucks. That was a mistake, and I wish that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yo, hang on. That's how we
owning
all feel.
up. Let's
they
go.
get the thing. They understand the problem. Yay.
Yeah. It's like it's like just acknowledging it. It's such a good communication to have, just like, okay, cool. They're aware that it sucks. And we will do X, Y, and Z maybe, and hopefully we see changes coming down the road. But yeah, no, it's super, super, super cool.
I mean, now you're praising those guys so hard. I need to say that I also really enjoyed that aspect of like Mark Neon on the DM and Gazi podcast, because it feels he's so much in tune with like how the game is being played right now. Like he knows exactly what's going on, what kind of strat he's using those strats himself. Like he was saying, like I just played it last night, right? And they're very aware of the things that we experience and the complaints that we currently have with the game, but they also see the duality of it all. Whereas if you take something away, like you gain something on the other side, but if you want to make something better here, it has to be worse somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And it's really, can't wait to see their take on the game in PoE 2 without having to take into account that they don't want to alienate the existing player base from PoE 1, because that was obviously the biggest problem when you just brought it up. They made it one game, but previously on the first announcement, we thought it was the other way around. We thought it was one game, and then they made it two, because that would have been the biggest problem. Is like, how do you tell all the people from PoE 1 when PoE 2 comes out, when 4.0 drops, that all of a sudden it's reset?
I don't think you could. I don't think they could have, and I think that's why it is now the way it is. It's just kind of like, how do you equate these two different things to be at least digestible to somebody who, because there are people in PoE 1 right now who miss the glory days of blasting.
Stuff temp chains. I want it back.
Right? Like exactly. Right here, And
I want to stare at my foot all day.
Your character's knee is like the most prominent thing on the screen. Like, oh my god, that Shin MTX is
it's
really hitting right.
It's just that kind of like, you want that itch to be scratched. And I think when we initially saw PoE 2, there was not an obvious answer of like, how are you going to scratch my itch, Chris? Like, where's the speed? Where's the juice? I got to go fast, and now they have decided, you know what? Let's just give them both, depending on what they're feeling on the day,
The mental gymnastics I have about that is, I kind of liken it to, PoE is, super fast, blazing quick movement speeds and all that. I don't think that the fact that they're trying to slow down the pace of gameplay in PoE 2 compared to PoE 1 is necessarily going to mean that it's going to be less exciting. Like, take, the Vampire Survivors series of things, games nowadays. Like, you move at a glacial pace in that game. But the screen is so full of enemies, and all your little little micro movements and like small adjustments that you make, that you just barely dodge that attack or barely dodge that projectile or whatever. Like, that stuff is exciting too. And I think it could just be a different kind of excitement, but I think it might be that it's just as much of an adrenaline rush. It's just that it's a bit more comprehensible what's happening on the screen as a result. And again, maybe mental gymnastics. I don't know, but I'm hopeful that it turns out that way.
It's worth giving it a try. Like, I feel like that's the bottom line. Like, if you like PoE 1, just give PoE 2 a try, and you might be surprised. The same way you might pick up any other game and you might be surprised. So yeah, it's just, I don't think it's too much mental gymnastic to think that there's going to be something satisfying and enjoyable and will scratch the itch that you want in some way, shape, or form from PoE 2. It's really, again, we kind of circle back to it. It's about expectations and tempering expectations towards what you're hoping to get out. If you're going into PoE 2 expecting PoE 1, you're shafted from the get-go. You might get some of it, but it's just expectations, right?
This could be a slightly cooked take. I don't know. But I think, as somebody who's normally like a blaster at speed thing, I don't think blasting at that speed is actually the thing that makes the blasting fun. What it is, it is not about how quick I'm going. It's about how much quicker I'm going than you are. So if you slow the whole game down, it actually only matters to me that I'm still faster than you, not what my actual speed is.
I love that.
Right?
I love that. because that is such a radical different approach to how I look at Path of Exile. As far as I'm concerned, how somebody else plays the game is like it has minimal impact on how I play the game, or rather really enjoy. So hearing that, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And that's why there's the racing community. That's why you have people trying to push as fast as it can. But I love to hear just, you know what? You're fucking slow and I'm faster than you, and that makes me feel good. You know?
But that's sort of the thing, is it's just that I don't really care how fast I'm going. I care that the average speed is significantly slower than what I'm doing. If the whole average comes down, then my speed can come down too, and I'm still going to be just as happy about it. Like, it's fine. I just want to be juicing.
I feel so silly for thinking that you were about to say, like, it's not about how fast I'm going, it's about how much stuff I'm dropping. I can't believe I thought that.
It's about going faster than
that'd
you.
be too rational. This is just like, fuck you, I'm faster. Woo! You know?
Goddamn Baylor.
So I suppose that said, like, there is also that sort of enjoyment as well of quickly getting through quickly getting through the leveling part to maps as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, I sure as hell don't want to spend 8 hours in maps, so I'm going to try and be like, what do the racers do? How do I get through these first 3 acts if I'm planning to start with this build, just so I don't have to be spending extra time in the first 3 acts? So it's the same concept. You just do it continually from maps onwards. Like, let's go. Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely fair. Valid. Just don't tell me I'm slow, Balor. Just don't tell me I'm slow, okay? I don't need that in my life. I am already aware. Okay.
So to be fair, I didn't mean anyone specific. And also,
I know.
When I talk about that, I also mean compared to other blasters, not compared to an average player. Like, I'm not competing with like fucking Joe who just got home after a 10-hour workday and has kids and wife to compete with. Like, that's not fair. I'm a degenerate. I play 12 hours a day. I've got nothing to do but PoE. When I'm comparing to the other people who are also trying to blast. I want to be quicker than them.
Yeah.
Right?
Or quicker than your non-blasting builds. I mean, that doesn't even matter. Like, just in the context of what's possible in the game.
Yeah. So all this is to say, Balor was absolutely the person chasing for name and lights in his private league.
And failing. There are people faster than me. By a lot.
No big surprise to me.
Yeah,
people are getting like Act 5 naming lights. I'm in Act 3. Going, God damn it. I don't think we have any races in here. And they're just like, oh, we're not racers. There's just 2 of us.
Yeah.
And like, we just play. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're not racers? I'm in Act 3. 2 acts in front of me.
But then
70% quicker.
And then you find out that these people have also like, oh, I've played this, like I've league started this safe build for 8 leagues. So they don't actually have to think. And part of me is always like, if I want to get faster, I should probably just league start something that I've league started before that hasn't been manhandled in patch notes, right? No, yeah. I'm the shiny domed prick that's going over to patch notes kind of going, I'll take that skill, the untested one, and I'll bring it for a spin and wonder why I'm stuck in white tiers at day 2, you know? It's like,
could have just stopped at shiny domed prick.
Nope, fair enough. He's got me there. I can't say anything. He's right. Harsh, but fair. But yeah, PoE 2. Good times. I'm looking forward to it. We're all hoping that we'll get our names into the hats as well for getting some beta playtime as well. It's just be like,
there's going to be plenty of opportunity, right?
Oh,
they said the beta is up right until the start.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm looking forward to give it a spin.
Absolutely.
Because Aphelion, you played PoE 2 at ExileCon. Balor, you played as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Catmaster, did you make it over to ExileCon, or are you like me?
Not to ExileCon, but I was fortunate enough that GGG came to Gamescom in Cologne, and I live right next to Cologne. So it was basically just step outside, take a train, and I was there.
What was the Druid like?
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I mean, it felt great. It's really hard to judge these things based on like very limited amount of playtime, and you don't get the context of it all. I don't get to compare how the Druid feels to the other classes. I mean, I did get 2 playthroughs. I did play Druid and I played Warrior, but at the time I was playing the Druid, I obviously hadn't played any PoE 2 before, and you don't get to build the build yourself, so you don't know how strong you're supposed to be at the time. You don't know how strong, you could be. It's all just a bunch of guessing, and the developers said as much for these playtests, right? They just give you a character that they manually tweak and to the point where they feel like, oh, this is kind of fun. It's a challenge to beat this, and it's okay as a playtest, right? And so it's really, I don't think, very representative of what we're going to get.
Yeah.
But as far as it is representative of what we're going to get, like how in-depth the boss fights are and how great the animations are and how liquid everything feels, specifically with the metamorphing animations abilities from the druid. I love the game. I love the PoE 2 that I got to play. I hope that by the time it comes out, it's not watered down, and it will not get watered down too much. Right?
I'd be interested.
They already said first playthrough for the average player is going to be 50 hours plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the average IGN employee, maybe.
No, IGN takes longer. But no, I guess it's the average person like who hops into it for the first time, not like pre-existing PoE 1 veterans.
It's the meme that keeps giving. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I suppose kind of tagged onto that insofar as like the PR aspect of it. Like, imagine if they were like, okay, we're going to do like a beta weekend and feel free to like stream it, and then seeing like how people are progressing through whatever they have will be so cool. And now, no idea if that's going to happen, but that would be kind of hype to just like pick your favorite streamer and be like, all right, let's watch, Jung Roan, let's watch Steel, let's watch Aziz, whoever, blast through this from 0 up to wherever they get after the 3 days, so because that'll be very telling, and it'll be so hard because, at least personally, I'm going to want so many different perspectives. Like, I'm going to want to hear from people who play it in solo self, and I'm going to want to hear from people like if they play, I don't know if trade, I suppose trade's probably going to be a thing, but just different approaches to it and stuff like that. It's going to be really, really cool. So I hope we get stuff like that. At least for the people who don't get their names into the hat to actually try it out, or can't try it out for other reasons, I just want to play the game. Just let me be the mercenary and let me shoot stuff. Okay.
That's literally what I told.
Please, just gonna play.
Yeah, just want to play.
Let me in.
Just log in. Let me in.
It's only very few months until then. I think isn't LE Last Epoch launching in February?
Oh, they're actually doing their launch
21st?
date. Yeah.
I'm ready for that too.
There was also other ARPG stuff happening this year between now and then. I also heard Grim Dawn has another expansion or something.
Grim Dawn got an update, a content update as well. I haven't played Grim Dawn in so long, but I enjoyed it when I played. I got confused on the difficulty settings and what expansions I meant to go through and in what order, and I got lost in like the desert area, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But I had a blast with it,
Okay, I can only find loosely announced for 2024. No actual date on it, but there will be a new DLC. I've only played it once recently, this last year, and
we're gonna have a big problem. By the way,
what?
Yeah.
Well, how the hell do? I don't have time to play all the ARPGs.
Yes.
And this is all I do.
Yes.
You gotta make a plan of like when you play what.
Torchlight Infinite is absolutely amazing and deserves your time. Undecember's really good and got rid of almost all of their pay to win and does reset seasons now. And like compared to when it launched, like they got rid of like almost all of it. Like it's also really good. Grim Dawn's got a patch out. Last Epoch is launching. We've got PoE 1 and PoE 2, the beta, and then the launch. How am I going to pay? How am I going to play everything?
How is anyone going to play Diablo 4 or Diablo 3 season launches?
I didn't even list them. They're already gone from my brain. I'm too busy with good ARPGs.
There's no space.
What do you mean?
Tech support doesn't have time for this. No, that's the reality of it.
Diablo. I'm not.
No, the reality of that is it's kind of, I think Ziz said it as well. He's like, in an ideal world, which is not going to happen, you have 1 month PoE, you have another month Last Epoch, and then another month something else, and repeat the cycle. With the way the ARPG market is shaking up, I think you're going to have to be like, I'll play this
Okay,
PoE
2
league.
weeks of this. 1 week
Yeah.
of that.
Or
I was
2
just
weeks
gonna
of
say
this.
you
skip
can't
a-
even
or
do
skip
a
a league.
3-month schedule because we're
No,
gonna
you
have
have to go
PoE
6.
1 and 2 alternating. So you
Yeah.
have like 6 weeks between PoE 1 and 2 launches.
No.
No?
No?
They said 2 months of PoE 2, 1 month of PoE 1. Like that's how it's gonna, didn't they? I didn't make that up, did I?
No, they are both going to be on 3-month launch cycles staggered by a month. So you get 2 months of PoE2 and then 1 month of PoE1. And each of the respective leagues are 3 months long, and they overlap.
So what I'm hoping to do in my dream world is that after a period of time, like, you know, probably 6 months to a year, where I'm just a degenerate on PoE2.
Yes.
So we get to the point where I play PoE2 for a month.
Mhm.
And then for 1 month, I do variety other ARPGs that fit into that space. And then I do PoE 1 for a month. And then I do PoE 2 for a month. And then I do the variety of other ARPGs.
Bro, you're gonna get burned out, man. That's so much ARPG, you know? Like,
What? No,
no.
fine.
I credit to you, man. Like, even with the month at the end of a PoE 1 league, it's like I'll pick 1, maybe 2 games and be like, I'm really gonna like digest this game. And then, you know, 5 weeks down, it's like, oh, it's PoE time. Bye wherever I was in this game. I won't remember you in 3 months, you know? But yeah, obviously that'll be that 1 month variety of like, you spin a wheel, Balor, you spin a wheel and just be like, what ARPG is it today? Let's go. Whoosh. And just pick.
Mine will just be I'll open it up and pick whichever one is the next one launching.
Yeah.
That's when it's time for me to pick another ARPG. I'm just going to open up. By the way, I've got this half sorted out already. I'm going to finish this soon, probably in the next week or so. But I'm basically building a Google Calendar that I can share with as many people as I want. And I'm going to list all of the launches of all of the ARPG and ARPG adjacent games in a Google Calendar that I can just share to everyone.
Look at this.
And you can just chuck it on your phone and not have to worry about it. And it'll have the time and date of launch and the name of it and like a link to the website. And that's that. I'm doing it for me because I can't keep track of everything.
Yeah.
But there's no reason I can't just share the Google Calendar with everybody.
Would you put your streams and whatnot that are going to be orbiting around the launches then onto the calendar so people?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Look at this. Look at this ARPG guru going hard. He's like, 2024, eat your heart out. I'm gonna eat up every ARPG, says Balor.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to lay it out in like a schedule because like, how am I gonna keep track? There's so much going on.
You're half a step away from having like, you know, a personal assistant to just like, you're almost at CEO levels as far as you're concerned now. It's like, tell me what I'm doing next week.
I straight up need a VA. That'd be fantastic.
I don't even know how much am I gonna play other games when PoE 2 drops. I think I'm just gonna want to play PoE 2 and get good at it.
Would a calendar help?
The calendar will help.
Calendars.
We barely do schedules. Come on.
Exactly. Like this podcast is the most scheduled thing that I do, and it's not very scheduled.
But
no,
it's a good plan. Let me know how that works out as well, Balor. We'll just see Balor just slowly, the bags under his eyes just getting bigger and bigger.
I mean, I'll definitely look at your calendar, and I mean,
look at it.
New games launch. I don't think I like. Even if I was completely in the PoE 2 hype right now, right, and it already dropped, I don't think I would skip Last Epoch launch because that's a game that I've been recurringly playing for years, right, on and off, and I've always enjoyed the new additions and changes that they made, and I'd be curious to see like what is their finished product, like what I mean, not actually what do they consider when it's done and when they want to bring it out.
I suppose for you, like, what do you want to see right now with what Last Epoch's got in terms of their end game? Because that's their biggest hurdle ultimately, is making the end game loop be satisfying enough that you want to stick it out for a decent duration. PoE's obviously got it just because it's got 10 years of stuff still wedged into it. The Last Epoch has the floating
I
stones.
think it just needs a tiny little bit more agency, honestly. I mean, from what I've seen, I've very limited playtime in Last Epoch Endgame.
Fair.
So
I find it.
I'm not even burned out on it. Like at this point, like I'd happily hop back into it and be like enjoying it for another couple of days of just mapping away, or how you want to call it, nexusing away. What is
what
this
I
called?
find? Yeah, Nexus. That's what it was, wasn't it? The different, because was it you that said it, Ballard? The end game, the whole where you go into essentially a map and then you run to whatever the objective is. And then you get out, click chest, repeat.
I don't like that.
Yeah, right? You're just kind of ignoring the monsters unless you need it for some reason. XP mostly, right? So it's just how they swap that up,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is to that. Like we run PoE maps to scale up through the tiers the same way in Last Epoch you're scaling up through the tiers to eventually get to a point where you're getting bases to craft on, but then you're also choosing what content you want to engage with while doing that. So what's Last Epoch's answer to that is the question I always have, is just like, how do we get more agency and what does that agency look like,
The answer for me is I'm really glad that I'm not the person who has to come up with solutions for any of this. I'm real happy to point out the problems.
But
we point out problems, we give praise to good solutions. But
we
don't have to
great
make
at figuring out what's wrong and what doesn't feel good. I'm figuring out how to fix it.
The other side of, I suppose the other side of that then as well is they don't need to have like a once-off fix to that, right? It could literally just be the same case that PoE has done over the years of like, just add a mechanic for the season. If it's good and popular, keep it around and repeat. No idea what the financials of that are like, but and then just flesh it out like that over time, and whether or not that would work or if that would be satisfying enough for people to stick with it. But already people like the crafting. The crafting has been really, really great with Last Epoch, and then the classes and how you're able to respec around and change up your build on the fly without having to necessarily go through re-leveling an entire new character is very attractive to a large section of the ARPG market, so they've definitely got something there. So it's just how they capitalize on it,
What do you think, Aphelion? You're an Epoch enjoyer, or you're looking forward to another ARPG?
What do I think? PoE 2 comes out in the closed beta comes out, or I guess open beta maybe, whenever the beta comes out in June. I'll be playing that.
I love it. He's got us. He's right. Look, you know what? He knows. You know what you want, and that's all that matters. That's all.
I just love playing PoE. It's just it's just like I love this series of games. I love ARPGs in general, but I can't see myself sinking my time into another one just because I'm so immersed in this one. Like when I go to play another game, it's another genre. Like I'll go play Satisfactory, I'll go play Valheim, I'll go play something else. But like Kerbal, yep, I'm crashing rockets into the runway by accident. But like, yeah, if I'm gonna play an ARPG, it's like what I'm working on next in PoE, or I guess PoE 2 coming up, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
For my personal enjoyment, I'd almost agree if it wasn't for the aspect that, so the original idea why I play other ARPGs is because I just want to see what's out there and I want to get a better understanding of how these games make us do what they make us do, so I could talk about it here on the podcast. But what I found with playing other ARPGs is that it enhances my enjoyment for PoE 1 or probably PoE 2 as well, because I just noticed so many things that how good they're done, right? Like how other games, like so many things I take for granted. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes. It's like the grass can be greener on the other side, and then you're over there and you're like, yeah, they kind of had it going well over there, back over there. We might just cross back over, and you know, so for sure. I big agree with that point as well of like seeing what the ARPG genre is cooking across the board, because it's a genre that I suppose, what would we say, over 30, 40 years hasn't seen huge changes to it or like huge mix-ups with it. And it's only really, at least personally, I might be entirely wrong here, but from my own experience with it, it's like the past 10 years ARPGs have really started to come back.
Yeah, because PoE showed everyone how it's done, right?
How it's done.
PoE showed everyone, hey, there's money in it, and if you just stick to what you really want to make and go for it, then
for sure,
people come with you.
Yeah.
Well,
my science.
I guess other games in the space were making money as well, but no one was making a game that was as good as PoE.
It's just they really set the standard. You could argue in the same kind of way, like okay, it's a very, very, very poor like comparison or parallel, but you have Baldur's Gate 3 that got released, and that just in terms of the RPG genre and even just games in general, people are like, oh, this is up here. At some point, PoE was like, we're going to do that. Like, we are going to be a standard of some kind, you know? So it's cool to check out other games in that genre to see what they're doing to maybe try and challenge the standard in some kind of way or do something new and something exciting, you know? So it's a good time to be enjoying the ARPGs.
Yeah, that's a great note to slowly round things off here, I think, before we start to go in circles. And I also have to really quickly prepare my BPL tonight still, because there's not much time left before it starts off. Friday night, I believe. Actually, I haven't looked up the start time. I think really Friday night at the same time as league start.
I've always enjoyed anytime I've been involved in BPL. It's a fantastically run event. Great people that play, great people that organize it. Really good experience. I hope you have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like 7 hours ago, but then on a Friday night.
Just don't come in last.
Don't drag the team down. Just channel your inner Baylor. Just go. Be faster. Be faster. Better. You know?
Just be faster than not only their magic finders, but your magic finders.
Yeah. Like dumpster your magic finders.
Yep. Always.
Just be like, look, I know that you got that bow, but I should have it so I can be better than you. Just splintering the team before it even starts. Yeah.
Nah, I'll just streamer RNG craft my own bow, like 2-3 essences, and we rolling. Easy.
Streamer RNG. Turn on the client. Turn on the streamer client. How does your RNG normally stack up, Kat? Like, do you find you have decent RNG?
Hit or miss, honestly.
Hit or miss? All right, okay.
Like, I mean, sometimes, most of the times I only have good RNG if I don't need it. But, like, sometimes, like on League Start, I think it was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Like, I 6-linked the chest really quickly, and then I hit those 2 back-to-back Divine Altars in maps. So that was cool, because I don't see any Divine Altars ever. But apparently then was one in one map and the other one in the next one. But, you know, then you find that weird chest piece from, like, a Voidborn Reliquary Key, like the energy shield thing, and you're like, should I delete that or vendor it? And you're like, no, let's see how fast it 6 sockets. Oh, that was fast. Let's see how fast it 6 links. And then 1,500 fusings later, you're like, why did I not just delete it?
I'll say it. My first 6-link of every single league, I'm benching that bitch. I am benching it because I don't trust my RNG. I'll put it to you this way. I've seen from the Voidborn Reliquary Keys, I have seen far too many foil Hall of the Grandmasters to be comfortable with my RNG. So, or I got I got 2 Annihilating Lights last league. That was cool. They were both the lowest possible roll you could have them, but they were a shiny, So it's just kind of like, just bench the first 6-link. Save yourself the trouble and just bench yourself the 6-link.
I mean, in SSF or in like a small private league, you're 100% right. But like,
just anything. No, anything. Don't do anything yourself.
I have a thing. Which is as soon as I get to maps, the first 6-link on a 6-socket on an appropriate base, I will spend all of my fuses on, which usually is 15 to 30 fuses. And if that 6-links, great. And if it doesn't, say 1500 or buy a 6-link. That's it.
Kindred Spirit, let's go.
I will spend the first 6-socket that drops in maps. I'll just try my RNG on it with whatever I've got, and then I'm never spending another one. That's it.
Yeah. Why am I still picking up 6 sockets to vendor, you ask? Because I have to. There is a mission here, and it involves 1500 of the fusings, so I'm gonna do it. If you don't like it, watch another streamer for the time. Yeah.
Where do you stand on that, Aphelion?
I couldn't disagree more with all of you. I never benched, ever. I Hillock 30 quality and I spam fuses. And what I think Neon said in, I believe it was the Ghazi DM interview with him, was that they're gonna add some way to quickly spam fuses by holding down the mouse button or something. I can't remember the exact detail.
That might change what my plan.
Yeah,
because this is the biggest problem. Literally wearing compression gloves.
Yeah,
this is not a fashion statement. This is my hands have problems.
Yeah,
and when I play video games, they hurt. But when I play PoE, they hurt 15 times as much as any other game. So I don't link or fuse things.
I just somehow I never get carpal tunnel. I'll just say it. I just never get carpal tunnel. But spamming 7,000 fusings doesn't bother me. I can do it. So I never bench. I'm somehow my forearms are freakish. I can't tell you what happened.
you meet Aphelion at ExileCon, and you can clearly tell which is his fusing arm because his forearm is just built like Huck's thigh. It's unreal. It's like I see you've been doing your tailored left clicking on stuff to link it. Very cool. I'm over here.
Besides, I like gambling, so I never bench.
Yeah. We'll see. I suppose I was going to say, like, are you banking on for your plan for this next character? Is there a big ticket item that you need to farm out? I suppose, and I pray your RNG holds for that.
Well, the very last thing. Well, the last big thing I need is to finish crafting the Sadist Garb.
Right.
So it's a eye level 85 fractured Sadist Garb with T3 suppress on it, and I need to hit T1 flat, T2%, and then just something decent for a third prefix before I move on to the suffixes.
Suffixes, yeah.
I hit
Not
T1 flat.
Curse bench delve base.
No, I have an anathema ring. I don't need that. So yeah, I hit T1 flat, T2% with some fossils, and went to slam a third prefix, and I got the literal second worst result. So I scoured it. I'm starting over. So I'm
the rage scour.
So yeah, I'm delving for more fossils, and I'm gonna try again. So once I get that done, then yeah, the next build can start.
Fair. Well, I pray that my RNG holds up because I am farming.
What are you up to?
I'm farming Uber. The plan is I have a Penance brand character to do Uber Eater, sort of. I've got 80% good enough items on it. We're going to need to do a bit better than that on the Penance brand. But I leveled a Wander to farm up the invites. And I'm now trying to decide if I want to, which 2 maps do I want to subject myself to for said farm? Could just run in, wait till the altar procs, and then back out, but I'll burn through maps. Or I could do Coves, Iceberg, and pray that we see the div cards for the Fractured Orbs. That'd be pretty cool. Unlikely. Or I can relive my Purgatory last league where I was farming Residents instead of Uber Eater to hopefully see the Nimbus div card drop and then gamble that up. But as Aphelion will confirm, I poorly magic founded for that. For that.
You did a great job last week.
I
Don't worry
did
about it.
such
You
a
did
great job.
You
So
did
great. It was like a very flaccid 600 maps, and I was like, it'll happen. And then I stopped playing the
I was a
league.
little worried that you'd burn that 0 out of 7 meter into your monitor or something, but you did
LED
great.
burn.
You did a really good job.
Yeah. Chat loved it. Chat was just like, so how many cards have you seen? It's right there underneath my camera. Stop asking. So that's the plan.
Dude,
Who
I
knows?
could literally have like a countdown timer this big on the screen, and people are gonna come in. It's like when podcast, like
Yeah,
and
exactly,
stuff like
right?
that.
I was
Hey, the
considering like,
next thing doesn't work anymore. What happened to that?
just
What? Oh, the
considered,
next
like,
thing that's already not been working for half a year or something like that.
Yeah,
and
I
I think
only
I told
noticed
you
the other
because
day.
they so I had the domain FATED.fyi for a while, and then they massively upped the price on that on me after the 1-year contract expired, and so I was like, screw that, I'm not doing that again.
Pass.
So, but
Fair enough.
I'll find a solution in the long run that will outperform that one. But for right now, I've just been linking the countdown on the link tree. So that's linktree/Faded Podcast. And then on the top, there's a thing. Wait, I can show it on here, right? linktr.ee/Faded Podcast. Right. And then that looks a little bit something like this here on screen. And then if I don't forget to update, then this links to the next episode countdown, which it won't after this episode because the next episode is still up in the air, but it will be somewhere after BPL, obviously. We won't be doing one this weekend. This is the first Saturday where there won't be a podcast. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to remove you. I meant to remove the big thing. I just
get rid of that easily.
Aphelion out.
Actually, hey, Catmaster. You know how on Hot Ones they have that segment where it's like they show the interviewee something from their social media and ask them to
you're not going to do this right now,
and ask them to like react to it or like give the context behind it.
No.
I thought maybe since Bantix is kind of like a new element to this podcast, and it's the first
should I
time,
pick
maybe we
something
could
from
like help
Bantix
the
Twitter?
audience get a bit acquainted with him. So I thought maybe if I DM you a link, we could have him explain like what's going on here and just kind of give us a little bit of insight into what
is it about pineapple on
is.
pizza?
Oh well, I mean,
it's a valid. That's correct.
Pineapple.
You can just screen share it, dude. You do it right now. I always
I'll
tell
just DM you
people.
on Discord. You can just bring it up right there.
Oh god.
Maybe you could even just read it for us. Just let us.
I just want you to know, Aphelion, that I will remember this. I've got the dark side gif if we want to fire back here now, Chief.
Wait, what is this even?
That's a great question. Let's end the podcast.
It's like the social media deep dive, right? It's just maybe we could just ask him.
What is this even?
Oh my god, I forgot about this. You hit him with this one? I thought it was going to be the other one. You mother.
I'm not gonna read this out.
No.
Bex, my chat is being super willy and Pepega. Please no mute cause of this word. What this? Please save me from their two-head patty wet.
What on earth are you doing on Twitter?
Look, it was dark day.
Somebody take away this guy's ability to post on Twitter.
It was a dark day, and if this didn't turn Elon off of purchasing Twitter, I don't know what could have stopped him. But thank you, Aphelion. The context of this was I can't remember, and I'm just glad it was this and not the other one. So I should not be allowed near Twitter, but you can't take it away from me. So fuck a duck. It's mine.
Wait, so what did you not like about the card, or what was that? It was a card for level 6 Awakened Support Gem Corrupted.
No, legitimately, I cannot remember what we were given out about. Chat was hounding me for something or about this card. So, okay, I make in real life div cards, and it's very likely that I was giving out about the design because chat wanted me to make that div card. Thus, I was asking Bex, what's going on with this card? Yada, yada, yada.
By the way, he makes in real life diff cards and awards them to people, but doesn't actually send them to them.
They'll get to you eventually.
I had to go to a different country, to Canada, to pick it up from him. one that I won 9 months prior.
He is, in fact, correct. There is definitely a backlog on the div cards that I have to complete for people.
No,
They
mine
will
was
get
done.
them.
You didn't mail it to me. It was
Correct.
sitting in your room.
I didn't want to go down to the post office with just one package when I had another 7 sitting beside me that needed to be finished. I was bulk sending.
I hope
But
this
yes,
has been enlightening.
it's been very enlightening. Thank you very much, Aphelion. I'm sure Balor and Catmaster and everyone listening and watching are thankful that they won't get this time back in their life.
Yeah, they've already written it off.
Yeah, it's already gone. Perfect.
Balor, what's on the program for today's stream?
I've been doing my first attempt at like a 0 to hero thing, except with no magic find at all from my fresh league start. I'm about on par with where I thought I'd be. I thought 3 days to get everything set up, all my completions done, all my watchstones characters set up to be functional in tier 16s. And then hopefully day 4, which is today, start doing a farm of some kind to make a bunch of money. So,
What's the target?
Fully geared, functional, good endgame character, plus my preference of belt, plus 100 divines in the stash.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good target.
Sounds good.
Achievable, winnable.
Well, as for myself, I'm going to be prepping the BPL run and hopefully get a hang of how to get into the MF stuff as fast as possible on fresh start, because when you're one of the first ones, then it's also basically SSF. So I know that I'm gonna be able to get things from the team, but as far as the first 5 hours or so, I'm probably by myself anyway.
Yeah.
So got to get back into those racing spirits.
Do you have a little
yeah.
cheat list for the uniques that you're looking for, especially the easier ones to get started with? Because people
for the MFing stuff. Yeah, obviously I'll communicate with the team. I mean, I'm one of a number of MFers, so the crafters will be informed about the needs, and hopefully we'll get some resources diverted to my side. But I wanted to do the little outro speech, unless there's something you wanted to still say, bring up information that is useful to the listener. Well, if you don't have any, then I have some, which is if you've missed this podcast, it's uploaded in full. You can find it as a video on Spotify. It will be uploaded to the FATED ARPG Podcast channel on YouTube, which is a new channel that I made, which is not yet monetized, which means until it's monetized, you get to watch ad-free there. And I heard there was some technical difficulties in the beginning of the podcast, so if you found this on the CatmasterOP channel, then that means you just have to be a little bit patient until it's uploaded elsewhere. I'll try to fix it in post, because I will have the local recordings. And yeah, that's it. As always, this format can only exist through your help and support, and so I'm grateful for that. And if you've been supporting, you're on the end screen. And we'll see you for the next Fated podcast, which will be announced on the Linktree and on my socials. So make sure to be there. Follow these wonderful people. Thank you for being here, Aphelion, Bantix, and Balor, always making time. And guys, Balor normally goes to bed after this podcast when we do it in the other time slot. But today he's starting, so go check out that stream. And we'll see you we'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.
I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.